Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your captain's debate. It's a debate we've had sort of on and off for the last couple of years, it seems, ever since Ashley Young was sort of at Manchester United and left, and then the captaincy was gifted to Harry Maguire under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It has been a debate, unfortunately, ever since, and there is sort of no football at the moment, so it sort of gives us a little bit time to sort of go into a little bit more detail around discussions like this. And obviously, it is the international break, and during the international break, Larry, we usually wait for Paul Pogba's comments. Obviously, Paul Pogba's not a Manchester United player anymore, and he's not on international duty, so that responsibility has fallen to Bruno Fernandes. Now, the Bruno Fernandes interview does look like it has been done before the international duty, and it does look sanctioned by the club, as is done from the Athletic. But obviously, Brandon Williams has been speaking as well, and some of the lines from both these players, do sort of centre around sort of the captaincy and the leadership around the club, which has given us some great sound bites. But we're no short of topics during the international break when someone puts a microphone in in front of one of our players.
Evening time. No, we're not, are we? And it's actually refreshing to see, though, that it's a sensible player. Is that a poor term to use? I just think Bruno Fernandes carries himself with quite gracefully, formally, with class. I think what's pleasing about this tell-all interview is there's nothing super controversial to come out of it. I think it was just refreshing to see a camera put in front of him and speaking positively about things at the club and why he's committed to the club. So really looking forward to breaking it all down.
Well, there is two parts that I have watched the first part. It looks like the second part has just been released now, and I urge everyone watching, if you have seen the Bruno Fernandes quotes online, you see them on Twitter or you see them written down, I urge you to go and actually watch the video. It's on the Athletics YouTube channel. The second part is out now. Some of these things needed to be taken into context. Like sometimes you see a quote written down and you think, what on earth is he talking about? But obviously in the lighthearted sort of moment of the interview, it obviously does sort of apply that context. But just Jamie here from Northern Ireland. Good to see you, mate. Hope you are keeping well. Now, before we get cracking, Larry, in regards to the captain's debate and everything, we sort of go sort of stems from there. I'd love to get everyone's thoughts in the live chat because like the debate we had the other day regarding the strikers, I'm not sure about the captain's debate. I'm always saying it's not Bruno Fernandes, but I'm going through the names now and I think, well, if I have to change the captain, maybe it is Bruno Fernandes, I think. But before we do get started, as you see, if you do follow us on social media, both Instagram and Twitter, we're currently running a giveaway of Alessandro Martinez kit to show you the away kit. I think it's everyone's favourite kit this season in terms of Martinez 6. Larry, your favourite kit? It's not the green kit, is it?
It's definitely not the green kit, Tom. What a shambles that kit is. Seriously, whoever approved that, they should be performance managed. There's serious issues with that. But I love this kit. I really do. Get behind the giveaway. Honestly, I mean, who doesn't want a free jersey? Who doesn't want a free, beautiful jersey? And who doesn't want a free, beautiful jersey with Alessandro Martinez's name on the back of it? I say get on it. All you have to do, lots of quick, easy steps. You can go through Twitter and Instagram if you want to increase your chances. Like the photo, follow the page, share the page. That's it. Tag a friend or two or 10 if you like. You increase your chances. And that's it. It's really simple, really straightforward.
No, definitely I will be entering myself. Not that we're going to rig the draw, but if I do win, well, these things happen. We'll see what happens. But we'll sort of get cracking on. Look, before we actually get started in regards to the captain's debate, because Bruno Fernandes' name will obviously dominate a lot of this discussion, I do feel. In regards to this interview, you sort of alluded to sort of a bit of a refreshing and honesty in regards to how it came out, and it was good. I'm sure a lot of Man United fans did enjoy it. Just your thoughts on it in regards to, it was from the Athletic. So the Athletic obviously does have quite a strong relationship with Manchester United at the moment. So as soon as I see that as sort of a tell-all interview with the Athletic, in my opinion, that's Manchester United putting this interview out. In terms of, did you see it this way, or do you think the Athletic have approached Bruno Fernandes and Bruno's gone off his own back to conduct this interview? Or do you think United have sort of tried to put a feel-good story out there?
I'm gonna say it's the latter, Tom. I have no doubt that Bruno, he is the captain unofficially, and as someone who he is the ultimate clubman. I think that's fair to say about Bruno Fernandes at this point. The way he speaks about the club, his passion for the club. So I think that's the correct way to define Bruno at the moment at this point of his career. He's just signed a new deal, so he's not going to go nuclear like a Dean Henderson would. And so I think, I absolutely think it's a stint from the club to get some positive PR out there and to maybe dimmer the Glazers out movement, for lack of a better term, during the international break.
No, definitely. Well, we'll get into Bruno Fernandes in a little bit. As I said, we're sort of going to go through the captaincy and we'll discuss Harry Maguire at the start and we'll go through potential candidates and sort of pros and cons. I think if anyone we got a lot of good feedback, Larry, in regards to our last podcast. We're talking about the strikers debate in regards to Martial, Ronaldo and Rashford and sort of pros and cons for each players. And I feel it was quite a balanced sort of discussion. So we'll try and keep this as balanced as well. I know there's a lot of dislike for certain candidates at the moment, especially our current, well, I'd say maybe not our current captain, our current club captain, I should say, in regards to Harry Maguire. And we'll start with Harry Maguire and sort of, as the captain says at the top, can he stay captain? Now, obviously, at the moment, Erik Ten Hag is keeping him as captain, so it looks like that is potentially on the cards for the foreseeable future. Forget performances, forget the bench. Okay, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Just the situation around Maguire. Is there a future? Now, obviously, I think a lot of us are leaning towards, okay, stripping him of the captaincy. If you want to use the term stripping, I'm not sure. But in terms of sort of giving away the captaincy to another player, can Harry Maguire successfully continue a Manchester United career as captain? Like if his career is staying at Old Trafford, can it be as captain in a successful sense?
I think so. Well, look, I think it's really a difficult one to answer, and I take two angles on this with Harry Maguire. If he finds his form, and it's a massive if, sure, I don't see why he couldn't. In reality, and well, let me add a bit more to that. Harry Maguire, in his first 2 years at Manchester United, showed he was a very, very good defender. I'll even go, I'm not going to quite say world class. I don't think that would be right. I mean, if you look at, say, the impact we've seen Virgil van Dijk and Ruben Diaz have at Liverpool and Manchester City, respectively. But I will say he did impact United positively. We finished third and second with Harry Maguire as the club captain. So, I don't want to rewrite history. This guy, with the armband, has produced positive results for Manchester United. We've brought this up time and time again. The Europa League final in season 20, was it 1920? Or
I've lost
no,
track
it
of
was
those COVID
2021.
seasons. Behind closed doors, I forget what year it was. But yes, the
It
season we
was
lost in the Europa League
2021.
final. Yeah, we'll gut it. He wasn't
The
playing the final.
narrative, if Maguire plays, we win, right? But I will say that as United have looked to play on the front foot or higher up the pitch, the weaknesses in his game have been exposed, and I think that that's knocked his confidence about. I don't think the player we're seeing at the moment is Harry Maguire's full capability, but I don't know if his full capability is still good enough now for United if we do want to be a front foot team. I think in a counter-attacking side, yes. So the question will now go, so then I'll flip it back to you. If that is the case, can you see Harry Maguire sticking around and turning his form around? I'm leaning towards no. So while I say he can, I just don't see him winning his spot back.
I think Harry Maguire's biggest challenge at the moment, forget the captaincy, forget having a successful career at Manchester United. It's in regards to a little bit of the same discussion we're having around Ronaldo. Can Ronaldo be the same player we know he has been if he's only playing half an hour every 2 weeks? Harry Maguire, is he going to be playing to the best of Harry Maguire's ability if he's playing a League Cup game or a Europa League game every two or 3 weeks? Is he maybe the type of player, which seen he had a very good injury record over the last couple of seasons? Are we only going to get consistent performances from Harry Maguire if he's playing consistently? Maybe he's an absolute train wreck if he only plays every 2 weeks. Maybe he's fantastic. Maybe he's Franco Baresi if he plays every 2 weeks. I'm not sure. But that's my biggest challenge at the moment for him because, I think, sorry about this, a bit of a cough in my throat. But my biggest challenge there for Harry Maguire is I think there's a little bit I don't know. He's obviously got status amongst the dressing room. He's got status amongst the game in England. And I think if he's playing for England and sort of thinking about Euros and thinking about World Cups, he can't be doing that from the Manchester United bench. I think there will come a stage in Harry Maguire's career. Now, he doesn't want to leave for Manchester United for less money, obviously. But if there is a thing that he does want to continue his football career, maybe he does see that away from Man United. And I just... I think that if there's one player who could force a move, I don't say this, and I don't expect him to force a move away from Manchester United, but in terms of to get his career back on track, because it has taken a huge hit this season, or the last couple of seasons, but obviously this season almost a bit of a nail in a coffin in regards to being benched, he could potentially see future away from Manchester United in terms of rediscovering that form.
Forgive me, Tom, I'm adjusting my mic. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think that's the problem with Maguire. Like I said, and like you've alluded to as well, I think there's just a lot of ground to make up. And the fact that it's a World Cup season, I think he's just he needs to think about what's better for the longevity of his career. And I don't see him in the mold of, say, a Phil Jones, where he's just going to be happy to sit on the bench and earn a wage. I think he does.
I think that's where my point is. If you compare him to another English centre back, Phil Jones is happy to. Would Harry Maguire be happy to? I think now. Look, ultimately, potentially he could be. Potentially, he's obviously
Tom,
on
I need
huge
you to
money.
hold the fort while I do this, please.
As Larry breaks his microphone, but I'll just come to one or two chats. I'll put you on mute, Larry, for a sec until you do that. But that is a big thing for Harry Maguire. You do compare him to a Phil Jones. I think there is a situation where Harry Maguire, I wouldn't say ego or pride, maybe pride, I'd use it in a positive sense. Could think, hang on, I can't be playing for England. I can't be having this career I want to have on the bench from Manchester United. I think there will come a stage where he does potentially want to move on. And if there's one player, obviously we think, okay, sell him for a bag of crisps at the moment. However, a big club in England, maybe not a big club, but let's say Aston Villa or Everton or Tottenham or whoever, they could find themselves in a situation in the transfer window where they could do with the Harry Maguire for 30 or 40 million. And I think if Harry Maguire sees that as a viable option and the club see that as a viable option, I could potentially see that happening. But Jamie here in the comments, saying, whilst I don't think Maguire should be club captain, I don't think it will change mid-season from next season, Varane or Fernandes, with the other being vice captain. It's a good show. We'll get into Varane and Bruno Fernandes as well. And Dom, good to see you in the chat, mate. As always, hope you're keeping well. Larry, you're unmuted now. Your microphone fixed?
Yeah. I'm all sorted.
Do you think there is a situation of that? And I want to move on to the other candidates because we do have a few, even though we're sort of struggling to see who should be captain. There are actually quite a few candidates. Do you think that is the big sticking point in regards to, we're all saying change the captain, but ultimately, deep down, we know he's not going to change it. And that is probably the right thing in regards to Erik ten Hag, the way he has come into Manchester United. It was probably the right thing to keep Harry Maguire as captain, which I think I did say at the time when ten Hag did his first interview. I lauded that as the correct decision, even though I slightly disagreed with the result of the decision. I think it was the right thing to do. And do you think that is ultimately sort of making this debate a little bit null and void?
Look, I've always been on the record for saying Bruno should be captain. If you can think back, Tom, when Maguire was captain, I came on here and I said Bruno should be captain, and I guess you've got your reasons for not agreeing with that, and I can understand where you're coming from. But look, I think it's the right call. I think he's the sort of player who. This interview he did today, where he said, around the referee, he goes, the referee comes up to me and he kind of acknowledges that when we're winning, I'm good, but he goes like, you're the biggest pain in the ass. Isn't that what you kind of want from your captain? I guess the thing that I think upsets United fans, and let me ask you this, like as someone who, criticizes, or not necessarily criticizes, but makes arguments for why he shouldn't be captain. Is it the petulance for you, or is it like the diving situation that we saw against Liverpool? So let me ask that. What is the thing about him that deters you from him being captain?
Well, we'll get into Bruno. I've got the list. There's other players. Just a quick bit on that. Bruno is, look, I've said this. So if anyone's tuning in for the podcast sort of regularly, they'd be bored of me saying this. But in regards to Bruno Fernandes, it's just his teammates. If Bruno Fernandes misplaces a pass, I'll think, okay, next one. If I misplace a pass and Bruno's he's not telling me to be careful with my passes, I think that causes friction in not a dressing room where I don't lose any respect, but it causes frustrations in that 90 minutes. And I don't know if Bruno sort of gets the best out of potential players. Sometimes I think he could, and that's the way he plays. And he might get the best out of some teammates like that, but he might not, because I've been in dressing rooms or on the pitch with people where people react differently. And if Bruno sort of treats I don't want to say treats every player differently or the same in a bad way, but you do need like a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson was brilliant in terms of this player needed a arm over the shoulder, this player needed a stern talking to. Does Bruno Fernandes have that ability to sort of differentiate that amongst the teammates? But we'll get into Bruno Fernandes in a little bit. Just one comment here from Adam before we get cracking. Once Maguire is formally stripped of the captaincy, his United career is basically over, in my opinion. Very hard to come back from that, which is a very sort of strong point. I wouldn't disagree with that. But sort of moving on, and we'll get to Bruno Fernandes in a little bit, but we'll just sort of start from the back, Larry. In terms of longevity, potential candidate. I'm not saying he should, but in terms of if you're weighing everything up in terms of what should be and sort of pros and cons, his name is always in and around the discussion, has captained the team on a couple of occasions. Now, his biggest thing, in my opinion, which would potentially stay away from sort of putting his hat in the ring, his potential future is away from Manchester United in a couple of years'
Yeah.
time. And that's where I think if we give him the captain's armband now and Ten Hag looks to sort of reinvest in the goalkeeping situation, or we're just having the same debate 12 months later. But the main question, have your thoughts on that a little bit there, but also the captain at the top. Are you happy with the goalkeeper being the captain of the team?
I've got no issue with with a goalkeeper being captain, Tom. It's not my first choice, and I can't think of United in modern history with a goalkeeper captain. I know Van der Sar did some time. Would I be right in saying Schmeichel was captain from time to time? It was probably a little bit
very
early.
rare. Very rare.
Very rare.
Well, obviously the biggest stage of all, obviously captain, that was Roy Keane was injured.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't have too much issue with it. I kind of like what Real Madrid do. So Real Madrid do the longevity. Well, they give the captain based on longevity, which makes complete sense in a way. But I also think that you have to look at with De Gea, specifically on De Gea. Before I go on a massive tangent, I think there's longevity, but I also think there's characteristics for being a captain. And I don't think, while I believe De Gea has very high standards of himself, of the team, he just doesn't strike me as that character. I don't see De Gea as the type of player to dig another player out, keep them accountable. I think he's just a player who likes to do his job soundly. And for that, I'd say no. And to your point, I think this time next year, I'll be surprised if David De Gea is our first choice goalkeeper. I really would.
It'll be interesting. Would I be surprised if he's... That's a hard one. I think in terms of the sort of other issues within the squad and sort of Ten Hag's needs, I think he'll stay as Manchester United's keeper. But in terms of Ten Hag's plans moving forward, in terms of a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, there is potentially a situation where David De Gea isn't the goalkeeper in a year's time. Adam's saying, I don't think a goalkeeper should be captain too far away from the action and the rest of the team. That kind of makes sense. Look, my first instinct is yes, that is my feelings in terms of why I don't sort of see it as a goalkeeper as a captain. Then you look at Buffon, you look at Oliver Kahn and those Bayern Munich and German teams in terms of it can be done. Now, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is one of those things. It's like shirt numbers. It doesn't really make a difference if you look at Andy Carroll's wearing bloody 2 for who did he sign for? I think he signed for Reading. Andy Carroll's wearing number 2 up front. It's shocking. It's a disaster. Now, ultimately, it makes no difference, but for football fans, it does. For football fans, I don't think a goalkeeper as a captain makes any difference. But in terms of the way we view the game, it kind of does weirdly. But anything else? Just your last point on De Gea in regards to I know you didn't sort of mention in terms of the sort of him being vocal or lack sort of that vocal sort of aspect to his game. However, you talk about you don't see him as this player in terms of sort of being up and about and sort of yelling at players and sort of demanding everything on the pitch. I'm just thinking, are we lazy as fans in regards to that? Because we want to see visuals. We want to see goalkeepers shouting like a Peter Schmeichel. I'm just thinking, as a fan, how do we know David De Gea is not talking? Just in terms of, well, we can't tell as fans. Like, and I'm not saying he's a great talker. He might be as silent as a mouse. I'm just thinking we get far too caught up, in my opinion, in regards to, oh, he's not pointing and shouting. He's not pointing and shouting. I'm just thinking, well, he might be given perfect instruction. Are the players listening to that instruction? I'm not sure. And if they're not, maybe that is a case that he isn't great in regards to communicating. But I feel as times, I'll go same with Harry Maguire, but even with David De Gea, I feel sometimes, I'm not calling you this, but sometimes it's lazy to say, oh, he doesn't talk, he doesn't communicate enough.
Yeah, I hear you. I personally, and I can't speak on behalf of every United fan. Just from my perspective, Tom, I don't really look for a yeller, someone who, has the cadence in their voice or carries themselves to be quite animated. That's not what I look for in a captain, to be honest. I think you can have a successful captain in different forms. But I look at De Gea as, when he concedes a goal, for example, you see him lie on the floor. Which game was it? I think it was against Arsenal. Was it against Arsenal where he lets the ball kind of go behind him and he kind of like lays on the field like a starfish for a little bit. Like, to me, that's not captain behavior. I don't want to see my captain doing that. As a goalkeeper, yes, you might be disappointed you made a mistake or you let the ball slip through behind your fingers, whatever it might be. I don't think I can't look at my teammate as a captain carrying themselves like that. It's a tiny detail, but if you're a young player and this is the person you have to look to inspiration to, yeah, that is what a captain is on the pitch. So if my goalkeeper's doing that, I don't. That's the thing. I look at his characteristics as a whole, and I just I don't think he's the one. On top of that, I look at his performances, and I've been saying this for the best part of 2 years now. I think he's a world-class shot stopper. I think the game as being a overall goalkeeper, I think it's passed him by a little bit.
Potentially, well, will be no shortage of no short of goalkeeper discussion over the next couple of months. I'm sure of it. Emad here saying, Larry, if that isn't captain material, you better not be back in Bruno. Which, yes, I was going to highlight that when the Bruno Fernandes discussion did come up. But look, Emad and I have had plenty of discussions in regards to Bruno Fernandes. I don't want Bruno Fernandes as captain. However, I'm going through all this. I think by the end of this debate, after seeing that interview by Bruno in The Athletic, if I had to choose, maybe it is Bruno Fernandes I think I'm potentially leaning to. Obviously, football does make hypocrites of us all at times. But my mum is tuned in, Larry, and she's maybe seen the notes. I'd like to see Ronaldo as captain because I feel he has good leadership. So I'll bring up Ronaldo. And it's the question at the top. Is he going to be on the field long enough to be captain? You might as well have Maguire on the bench if they're both going to be sitting on the bench.
Before this, when last season ended, I think this is your first choice as captain. But after what transpired in the summer, I can't make a case for him. I mean, it's no secret he tried to leave the club. So what an embarrassment it would be for Erik ten Hag to give him the armband now.
Who do the players, though, like forget the armband, now it's obvious the answer. I'm setting you up to answer this as Ronaldo. However, who do the players look up to most in this dressing room?
Do they look up to him as a leader, or do they look up to him because of what a brilliant footballer he is? There's a difference here.
What does Roy Keane say? How does Roy Keane say be the best? What makes you be a good captain? Said be the best player.
Yeah, of course. There's a valid element to that, Tom. But I think if for the same things that people criticize Bruno for, I could make the same argument for Ronaldo. Petulant, whiny, gets in the face of the referee, dives, makes the most out of an opportunity. So if you're going to criticize Bruno Fernandes for being the captain and having these traits, look no further. His role model was Cristiano Ronaldo. Learn to do the exact same as his Portuguese captain.
Jamie here saying De Gea, Martinez, Varane, McTominay, and Bruno. We're starting to get some leaders on the pitch. We can only have one captain. We also need big characters. Well, I think that is where we've had so much of a negative discussion around the captaincy in recent years. However, we do go through these candidates, and I don't think anyone stands out as the perfect candidate, but at least there are options. You know, if Erik ten Hag takes a shine into one of these options, and maybe it's sort of a relationship that can flourish. But I think it is potentially, now we don't want to be in this situation where we're potentially talking about getting rid of our club captain, but those are the facts that we're in that situation. So we are in a sort of good place in terms of potentially finding a replacement. But is there anything else on Ronaldo? Could you see a situation in regards to, I don't know, like we had that striker debate the other day in regards to, I have a feeling he's our best striker in terms of our best option going forward in terms of a manager sort of relying on a first choice. Do you think there is a situation where he does play enough this season? Martial, if he doesn't provide fitness, if Marcus Rashford doesn't prove to be the striker we want him to be, do you think there is a situation in regards to the question of the top, will Ronaldo play enough? My biggest concern is the reason I wouldn't give it to Cristiano Ronaldo. One, I don't think he's going to be there next season, so we're just going to be having the same debate in 9 months' time. Two, I think there is very good chance that Erik ten Hag doesn't use him too often this season from the start. So we might as well have Harry Maguire as captain on the bench. So they're my two sort of issues why I wouldn't give him the captaincy. But I can draw up a situation, Larry, where come around the World Cup, after the World Cup, second half of the season, his first name on the team sheet.
There's a very realistic case for that to happen. I think it. Look, we're having two debates here. If you're debating again whether he's going to be our first choice striker, absolutely, he has every capability to do that. He's world class. He's been the world's best footballer for the best part of a decade, beyond a decade, along with Messi. So, of course, he can force his way back into United's lineup. I think the only situation, though, where I see him being captain is if there's, like, Bruno's not starting the match or Harry Maguire's not starting the match. Outside of those options, I can't see Ronaldo being captain. He's probably second choice at the moment, assuming Maguire doesn't play. I think if you had a starting lineup where Bruno and Maguire aren't available or aren't selected, I think Ronaldo would be the next in line.
Jamie here with a point, and it skipped my memory. Everyone was stripped of captaincy for trying to leave, so I don't think Ronaldo should be given the captaincy.
What year was that, Jamie?
I vaguely remember 9-10 value. I'm trying to think. 9-10, he captained the team a lot. It vaguely rings a bell. I should know this. I should be all over this, but maybe send me a message, Jamie, or maybe an article or something. It vaguely sort of rings a bell, but I do kind of forget it as well because it seems like a bigger story than when I just read it
Adam
out.
makes a really valid point here as well. Is Ronaldo here next season, even if he wins his starting spot?
That's my main thing. Why I don't give it to Ronaldo, because I think we're going to have the same discussion in a year's time, where we might as well just sort of start with the new era at the moment. But in regards to probably the biggest name, in regards to, there is a poll in the live chat, so I don't have the stats in front of me, but there is a poll at the top of the live chat where you can have your say. But the biggest name in this captain's discussion behind Harry Maguire is obviously Bruno Fernandes. Now, this will obviously spark a lot of debate, and there are pros and cons. And since the moment Bruno Fernandes arrived at Old Trafford, fell in love with him, absolutely love him, Larry. I said, he's not a captain. I want him to do his own thing. He's not a Manchester United captain. It just, and I alluded to the points a little bit earlier, just in regards to the way he plays the game. As a teammate, that is why I don't see it. Now, I go through the other candidates and I think, well, hang on, he can't be captain. Okay, this guy can't be captain. I look at Bruno Fernandes in terms of weighing everything up. I do have a feeling, and it's off the back of in terms of the way he speaks. On, you look at that interview with the Athletic. You look at the time he has for fans when we're down in Melbourne, in terms of all these things, in terms of way. Okay, forget his passing, forget his creativity, forget his work rate, forget all these things. In terms of what we want to see on the pitch in regards to passion. Now, sometimes that passion can boil over and it can look petulant. I understand, but at least there's something there. It's something we've sort of criticised so many of this squad over recent seasons they haven't had. Bruno Fernandes has something about him as a fan that we do want to see on the pitch. Now, is that ultimately enough to be Manchester United captain? No, it's not, but it's more than others have displayed at times. And at the moment, there's no ideal candidate. At the moment, I'm probably leaning towards Bruno Fernandes. Mainly, we'll get into Rafael Varane in a little bit, but the reason I would maybe lean towards Bruno Fernandes is I think Erik ten Hag is potentially going down that route. If Erik ten Hag wants it to go down that route, well, who am I to argue with the manager?
Look, I like Bruno as captain. I've made that point. I made an early case at the start of this video, and let me make a case for you for why he is captain. I'll start all of this by saying I don't think there is a perfect choice at the moment. But what I will say is, if you look at in terms of what's available, let me throw some names at you. All right. Scott McTominay, leader. His actual behavior, his characteristics, leader. He says the right things, carries himself the right way, loves Manchester United, his work ethic. I could make a case for Scott McTominay to be captain. Lo and behold, though, is he in United's strongest starting 11 if they're, fighting for titles? I don't think he is. As good as he is performing at the moment, and he's keeping Casemiro out of the side, so credit to him, there will come a time where Casemiro will force his way into that side.
TJ, that rings a bell with who I was saying should be captain user, Ander Herrera. Now, Ander Herrera, I think maybe a little bit more technically sort of able than Scott McTominay, but I think it was very much in the same category. I thought he was the one we all wanted as captain, but we thought, hang on, if we can improve on Ander Herrera, though, so it kind of held that debate back a little bit.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, so if we're going to assess this purely on characteristics, well, Scott McTominay is probably top of my list, Tom. But in terms of player ability, his actual ability in terms of being on the pitch, he's not going to be that first choice player. So that, so obviously McTominay is not in this debate, right? So if I look at Bruno, I think he's petulant, and I think that's a downfall to him. But what you can't criticize him for is he busts a lung. He runs, and I think that's an underrated part of his game. Bruno runs his legs into the ground. I think while frustrating, we have to remember he is a number 10. He loses the ball. And I've made this argument about Bruno as well. Lionel Messi, when he was playing for Barcelona, season after season, Tom, lost the ball more than anyone in world football. Manchester United players will criticize Bruno for losing the ball. He's in a creative position. He's been given the license to create. If he was a number 6 in doing it, I understand your criticism. When you're told to create, you have to understand there's a 50-50 chance this ball's not going to hit the target. Otherwise, we'd win every game 15-0. You know what I mean? So I don't agree with that argument. Overall, and just I look at the things Bruno says, I look at the way he's educated himself about the club. I think this guy is the best choice at the moment. And
I think it's a point you make there. Just on that last point there, you talk about educating himself sort of about the club and the history in terms of the time he has for the fans, which we've seen sort of firsthand, the way he speaks in interviews, the way he conducts himself, whether it be on social media or sort of just in general interviews as well. I think that is now, again, an unfortunate situation we find ourselves in where we're talking about taking the captaincy off someone and there's no ideal candidate. Ideally, you'd like Bruno Fernandes to be this 10 out of 10 player on the pitch and this 10 out of 10 sort of character off the pitch and combine the two, and you got the perfect captain. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So I'd love the perfect footballer to sort of accompany sort of Bruno Fernandes' sort of candidacy for this position. However, I think what he does have off the pitch in terms of that some of those characteristics, it does tip the scales in his favour. In terms of now, that shouldn't be enough. Well, we should have better players and should have more leaders in terms of more suitable for the role. But in terms of those things he does display, it maybe just leans him there.
Look, like I said, Tom, right now I think he's the perfect fit. And where I could say, and this is just purely for the sake of this debate and for argument's sake, if United finish 5th this season, I think you can put a question mark on the captaincy. If United go on to finish 4th, 3rd, and perhaps secure a cup or a trophy of some sort, or make it to a cup final, then surely Bruno Fernandes has validated his selection as captain when he's on the pitch. The only, and I guess the caveat to this, looking at, the options in terms of who we're looking at in part of this debate, I think there are players who Ten Hag has recruited who we could definitely make a case could be future captain.
Yeah. Well, they'll definitely come up. I think I agreed with your point regarding Lionel Messi, but I agree with Emad here. But Messi's maybe a hard one in terms of the comparison, but Bruno can't do half the things Messi does in a game, despite how many times he loses the ball. When Barca need a spark, 9 times out of 10, Messi delivers, Bruno doesn't. I agree that
on this
Bruno's
most creative player in the league last season. Statistically, he created the most chances in the Premier League and a struggling United.
The disrespect Bruno gets is unbelievable in regards to his actual ability and what he provides. He's been I understand that it comes with huge frustration. No one gets more frustrated than me in regards to what he produces in a Man United shirt compared to sort of his counterparts in better teams. He's off the chart. He's unreal. That is why Erik Ten Hag, we all thought, is he going to suit Erik Ten Hag? No, Erik Ten Hag has come in and said, hang on, this guy actually delivers in terms of might not be the goals and the assists at the moment, but in regards to sort of conducting the team around, he obviously does do very well. But
on Rob's point here, don't think where we finish makes a difference. What's half the argument you see with Harry Maguire at the moment? He was the captain when United had their worst finish in the last 30 years. That's what will go next to Harry Maguire's name when his United career is done and dusted, assuming, he doesn't see out the next 2-3 years at United. So, while I agree with Rob in principle, people unfortunately link those things together. If you're the club captain and you ever see poor results, your position will come under question, right? So, it's a difficult one.
Just the last point, I want to move on and look, we can get into XG and creative chances in regards to all these, but Emad talking about pumping the ball into the box from halfway is considered a chance created. Seriously, don't use those stats. The eye test is the perfect test, which I always go back to. However, in saying that, look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. He creates so many chances. He gets applauded for his attacking ability. We criticise Bruno Fernandes for pumping the ball into the box. Trent Alexander-Arnold puts 100 crosses into the box every single weekend. Okay, eventually Salah sort of bumps a few in and Trent is sort of lauded for this creativity. Bruno Fernandes has been trying to find Anthony Elanga and an out-of-form Marcus Rashford for 2 or 3 years. So those assists haven't been coming off or those balls haven't been coming off. But look, at the moment, Bruno Fernandes is obviously a touchy subject amongst the fan base. I sit here and don't want him as captain because I think there are sort of more suitable candidates. However, if I do weigh everything up, if Harry Maguire was a situation did arise where he wasn't a captain, I would have to maybe side with Erik Ten Hag. And Erik Ten Hag obviously has a great respect for Bruno Fernandes. I wouldn't lose too much sleep if Bruno was the captain. Now, Larry, I wouldn't have been saying this 6 months ago, but potentially my number one candidate, this man, Champions League winner, World Cup winner, Rafael Varane. From what I've seen this season, I think Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic leader in his own way. I think he leads in his own way. He doesn't need the captain's armband. I think in terms of who's leading this team at the moment is the Frenchman at the back.
No, this is a really valid argument. Is he a leader? Absolutely. I think the case I would make against Varane, I want to see a full season where this guy stays fit. If he can stay fit, I'll get on this bandwagon with you. But that's the biggest question mark. Can he stay fit? I'm crossing everything that can be crossed on my body, Tom, hoping this guy doesn't come back with an injury when the international break is over. He always comes back from France with an injury.
Oh, heaven. Oh, look, I won't be shocked. But in regards to that, I want to touch on sort of Martinez in a little bit. And I don't think he's the top of anyone's list, but it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts. But in regards to this as a pair and in regards to Martinez and Varane, I think this debate sort of changes every day. I think one week I said Martinez. I think today I'm saying Rafael Varane. If you have to do without one, who is more important at the moment in terms of the way we're playing and ERIK ten Hag is playing? Who's the more important defender, Varane or Martinez?
The man right there. 100% all day long. I know it almost seems lazy, and I'm sorry to go back to yesteryear, but if you think of Rio and Vidic, if you look at the way these two play, Martinez and Varane, very similar, right? I think the way Eriksen is making McTominay better, in my opinion, I think Martinez looks better being next to Varane. You only have to look at the first 2 games of the season, Tom. Martinez looked good. But next to Maguire, he gets subbed at half time. Next to this guy, he keeps clean sheets. The thing is, they just complement each other. I think I've said this on here before. Centre back is the only position on the football pitch where your partner complements your performance so much. You could be the world's best centre back. If your partner isn't effective or you don't cover for the deficiencies in each other's game, you look poor. And I think Varane and Martinez just got a perfect blend going at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. Adam here is saying if Varane can stay fit, he would 100% be my captain, which I think a lot of us do agree with. Emad here as well. Yeah, we've had discussions with him. He does see Varane as a potential captain, and definitely I agree with that. Rob saying Varane can be a leader, but can't see him as captain. That makes sense. I kind of get that sense in regards to that. I just let him do his own thing. He's won World Cups. He's won Champions League without being a captain. Just let him do his own thing. Maybe how's he going to react as a player, as a person, if he's given that responsibility? Maybe just let him continue doing what he's doing. If he gets given the captain's armband, is that going to change his game? We've had that discussion with Bruno and Wayne Rooney, obviously, as well. So I'd like to see Rafael Varane as captain. However, maybe he'd put it upon himself. I don't need that. I don't need that nonsense in regards to the baggage that comes with that as Man United manager, or as Man United captain. Emad, he's saying Varane covers and sweeps Martinez perfectly. Maguire can't do that. Well, I think we're definitely seeing in regards to that partnership that obviously developing at the moment, which is great to see. Just the last point on Rafael Varane before we do move on, Larry. Adam here saying, do you guys think Varane having a language barrier affects the chances of him being our captain? I wouldn't think so. Now, I'm not sure what his English is like on the pitch in regards to his communication. At the moment, it looks fine. Do you think there is a situation like that? Obviously, we've had Nemanja Vidic as captain for you. He could speak English, but it's kind of broken English. I'm just thinking, is that an issue for you, or do you think, God, how many players can speak English in our team? Probably most of the start 11 don't speak it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think if you... All right, well, let's quickly rattle through the starting 11 at the moment. David De Gea, Spanish. Diogo Dalot, Portuguese. Varane, French. Martinez, he'd speak Spanish. You've got Malacia, who'd speak Dutch. McTominay, Eriksen speaks Danish. Casemiro's, Portuguese. Who else do we got? Ronaldo, Portuguese. Rashford, English. Martial, French. Sancho, English.
It always throws up an interesting debate in regards to that. Like, it's funny. Like,
I don't think anyone understands anyone in our pitch at the moment. It's you got Europe and South America there. It's a crazy blend at the moment, isn't it?
No, definitely. But before we move on, look, I want to touch on the Brandon Williams interview before we just after we come to a final resolution on who we think the next captain should be if Harry Maguire is to be stripped. But I just want to throw up another banner. Just is there any outside the box thinking? Obviously, you can see Scott McTominay and Lisandro Martinez at the bottom. Now, Lisandro Martinez, obviously, in terms of we like what he brings, ERIK ten Hag sort of place full trust in him. We absolutely love what he's bringing on the pitch. We've made, I don't want to say mistake in terms of Martinez being the same as Maguire, but we know not to give the captaincy to someone in their first couple of months of the season. Let Martinez sort of bet himself in at Old Trafford. But the reason, you can throw his name in this if you want, but the reason I throw Scott McTominay up here, and look, me and Emad have been making this point for the last 2 years that he should be our captain. Now, some of that is tongue-in-cheek, but a lot of it does stem from a place of honesty and truth. My main question to you in regards to McTominay, now I'm not saying he should be the Manchester United's next captain. However, if he is able to, now at the moment we do think Casemiro is going to come in. Let's say a situation comes about where Casemiro doesn't adapt and McTominay keeps him out of the team. McTominay improves and develops into a very good player ERIK ten Hag sort of relies upon. The performances Scott McTominay is given at the moment, let's say you average 7 out of 10. If he's to be able to do that consistently over the course of a season, is that good enough to be Manchester United captain? If he's 38 games a season and given 7 out of 10s, with his characteristics, I look at it, yes, there's better players on the pitch. I would look at that's what I would want as my Manchester United captain.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And we've touched on McTominay a little bit. Between these two, Martinez all day long. Like I said, it's not just about the character. I think you got to look beyond that. Martinez is one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. And I think if he can keep himself fit, and again, if he has a good season, keeps up the form he's been producing at the moment, next season, there could be a case. I think Martinez probably ticks a lot of boxes because you have to look at the age profile as well. How old is Martinez? 22, 23 years of age?
I must be older than that. I'm guessing 24. I might be completely wrong. You might be right, but I'm guessing mid-20s.
Check this up right now. But look, nonetheless, he's got years on his side. Let me find this. Sandro Martinez. He's 24 years of age. There you go. So, he's got everything to have a very successful United career. I think he's the one. I like McTominay. Like I said, I think he's producing his best football in a United shirt. But yeah, I think there's a ceiling to him. And I think because of that ceiling, I think he'll struggle to see himself in the United 11. Should we continue to obviously develop and invest in the squad?
But can you see a situation, though, and now it's a very, very small sample size and the picture might change in 2 or 3 weeks. If we get pumped by Manchester City, the picture is going to change. However, as I say, and look, I will bang the McTominay drum because I've been banging it for long enough. I might as well stick with it in regards to it is what I do want to see on the pitch in terms of who has let us down over the last couple of years. And we look at it and we say, this player. The only player, in my opinion, and maybe someone disagrees in the live chat, the only player who has not let me down over the last 2 years is Scott McTominay. Now, David De Gea, in regards to goalkeepers, how can you sort of quantify effort? That's a hard one. But in regards to players on the pitch, every single player at some stage over the last 2 years, at some stage hasn't put 100% effort in. I put Ronaldo in that category. I put Bruno Fernandes in that category. I put Luke Shaw. I put Marcus Rashford. I put Anthony Martial. I put Diego Dalot. Every point, at some point over the last 2 years, some of these players haven't put in 100%. That's something I can't accuse Scott McTominay of. If someone misplaces a pass, has a bad pass completion, loses the ball, lets in a goal, I can't do that. They've got more ability than me. So who am I to question? That's not letting me down if they can't perform a skill that I can't perform. The one thing I can do is 100%. And sometimes I've been able to do that some players haven't been able to do for me. So I'm looking at that. Scott McTominay is the only person in this squad who have had huge questions about in the past. Here at the moment, we're winning games and saying, "Oh, this team's good. I like this player. Let's get this player on my shirt. I like all these players." 6 months ago, we said this group is the most unlikable bunch we've ever had. Now, sort of the narrative does change very quickly in football. I'm just thinking the only player who hasn't let me down in terms of what I want as a fan, or not what I want, what I need as a fan in regards to that work rate is Scott McTominay. And I think that is, again, it's not sort of calling him to be the next club captain, but it's a huge trait because at the moment we're all on the side of these players. But as I said, Carson won back a couple of weeks ago. They were the most hated bunch amongst Manchester United's history.
Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying in principle, Tom. And that's the thing. I can make a case for McTominay, which I did do. I'm just of the opinion of, if you look at every successful era as where Manchester United have won trophies, and you look at who has been the captains in those sides, does McTominay fit that bill? Because, yes, and I know, Emad's a McTominay apologist. I'm not going to say you're a McTominay apologist, but you're a big fan of Scott McTominay. But you have to look at it. Just look at other midfielders who have held the armband and been in successful United sides. I think that one that I could compare him to kind of is Brian Robson in the sense he didn't achieve a lot of success in a United shirt, but that was more to do with the side around him as opposed to him himself. He was a brilliant captain, Captain Marvel. But I look at midfielders like Brian Robson. I look at midfielders like Roy Keane. And obviously, McTominay doesn't quite match up.
You don't need to sell me in regards to ability and quality. No one needs to sell me in regards to I'm fully accepting and understanding of the limitations and ceilings.
If this is the standard of the midfielder that we've had, who's worn the armband, what are we doing if we suddenly accept this?
I don't care what we've had. I look at what we have.
Yeah, I hear you, but what we have hasn't been good enough, which is why we spent a record net spend in terms of the transfer market.
Yeah, but I'm talking about getting the armband on someone for Saturday. Yes, okay, Bruno
Fernandes, he's doing great. Yeah. Undefeated as club captain, undefeated every time he started a game as captain.
This season. But look, I say that, and at the moment, if I'm to sort of put money on it or sort of one final answer, I would say potentially Bruno Fernandes at the moment. I think ideally Rafael Varane. However, I think Rob makes a point in regards to a little bit earlier. We're going to see the best out of Rafael Varane. Potentially might change his game. In regards to the place Erik ten Hag has placed in Bruno Fernandes, I potentially would lean to Bruno Fernandes. Now, a week ago, Larry, I wouldn't have agreed with that. I would have said, no, Bruno Fernandes isn't the captain. Keep it Harry Maguire or keep it Rafael Varane or give it to Ronaldo. But at the moment, a week is a long time in football, and an interview by The Athletic does change my opinion. At the moment, I'm probably have to side with you that Bruno Fernandes, if the situation arose where Harry Maguire was stripped, I would give it to the Portuguese.
Thank you, Tom. Case closed for me.
It's an interesting debate, Emad, here has been good in the live chat today. Your points are valid to an extent. You can throw Bruno into that basket. I think, like we had with the striker discussion and this captaincy debate, I think what makes it an interesting debate is
Bruno's
both sides.
a world-class player. I'm not accepting that.
But both sides are right.
Bruno doesn't have the ability, because I disagree strongly with that. I think Bruno's got world-class ability. I really do. He's got limitations. I think Bruno's not. How would you describe Bruno, Tom? At times his touch looks heavy, but when he's on, you know what?
How I describe Bruno Fernandes, he is what he is. He's brilliant and frustrating. He is that.
That's it. But like in terms of when you look at what the skills he has in his arsenal, he's got everything you want a midfielder to have. He's got long-range passing, short-range passing. He can score goals in the box. He can score long-range goals. Like, there's nothing I look at him in terms of the skill and the abilities he has where I say, oh, he's deficient in this.
It's almost like the Marcus Rashford.
Physicality.
Even he's saying Bruno's not world class. I think it's like the Rashford discussion we're having. He's got the ability. Can you perform that ability consistently at a higher level? Now, obviously, in his position...
But Bruno has done...
No, he definitely has. At the moment, though, yes, it's in that area of the pitch. You look at a Kevin De Bruyne who loses the ball constantly, but he has those moving parts around him who make it work. I think if we have a successful season, we'll look at Bruno Fernandes to have played well. If we have a bad season and those passes haven't stick, we'll look at Bruno Fernandes to have having not performed well. But it is a discussion we'll be having sort of plenty of times in the near future. So, but I do enjoy a little bit of discussion in the live chat, especially when there's a difference of opinion. Now, before we do wrap up, Larry, someone who hasn't come in this discussion. Now, if his sort of career continued on the sort of upward trajectory after his debut, maybe he would have been in this discussion, but it hasn't played out that way. Brandon Williams. Someone gave him a microphone after a couple of beverages, and he got talking. Now, one, I want your just thoughts on him actually talking in terms of doing the interview potentially under the influence of a little bit of it. Not he wasn't pissed, but obviously had one or two drinks. I'm just thinking, one, that as a Manchester United player putting himself in that position, is it a little bit unprofessional, or is it just one of those things? Okay, deal with it. But also the words in terms of what he was saying, and he's talking about sort of pretty much having a go at Twitter trolls, saying these faceless accounts on Twitter. If managers picking a player, the manager's picking that player because they're obviously performing in training. We don't need a faceless Twitter person giving us abuse saying we shouldn't be playing. We need to listen to the manager. We don't need to be listening to people on Twitter. I enjoyed what I heard from the interview. Now, there are sort of, you do have to apply a little bit of context to what he says, and there's a little bit sort of contradictory, or not contradictory in regards to Brandon Williams himself, but in regards to it could have just avoided it, in my opinion. I think it's made it an issue where it could sort of been swept under the carpet and sort of not an issue. But just your thoughts, because I actually did like it, even though here we are as fans, we're both on Twitter. Now, we're not sort of tagging and abusing players in terms of what Brandon Williams is talking about, but he's talking about idiots on Twitter, and I actually like what he said.
If Brandon Williams is happy being a millionaire playing professional football, I think he needs to have thicker skin. I don't agree. I agree with what he's saying in principle. I agree that there are trolls on social media and it's pathetic, 100%. But at the end of the day, you're earning a living because there are so many eyeballs on the products. And you're also earning a great living because this club has one of the biggest fan bases in the world.
Fan bases, you say that in terms of, you talk about that, and you talk about sort of the accounts and the players and their ability to deal with that. We're talking about our fans giving it to him. Like,
yeah,
I think that is where it hurt. That's where it stings. If it's a rival fan, or if
it happens at every football club now.
No, that doesn't happen like United.
Oh, of course not like United, but you have to look right. When you have the more people involved in something, you're going to have more of a bad bunch too. You know what I mean? It's basically like if you look at human populations, where you have more people, there's more crime because, you know, in terms of balance and of odds and probability. I think with Brandon Williams, there are only so many people who are as lucky as you to live the life of a professional footballer. Your career is short. sacrifice a little bit. And by that, I mean stay off social media if it's going to bother you. If you're not on social media, you're not going to see any negative comments. It's not that hard. He can do it.
I think it needs to look. I agree with your sentiment there, but in regards to you say players stay off social media, you can't. But people now, unfortunately, have to. No, people don't. We all take the high ground and say, "Oh yeah, well, I can put my phone down." No,
what Bruno does. Pay someone to run your social media. If it's about marketing, if it's about your brand, you can afford to do that. Get someone to run your account, but you yourself make a decision to stay away. It's not that difficult. It's really, Tom, I know this almost sounds...
I think you say it's not difficult. I think it is.
Well, I've been going on a bit of a social media cleanse myself, and, you know...
We're literally on YouTube now. We're literally on YouTube discussing...
No, YouTube's different. I get
social media, social media in general, the biggest influencer on this platform is a Manchester United fan, and he dictates a lot of the narrative towards players.
I understand all of that. I think you can make an active decision not to read comments in your post or turn the comments off. You've got the option now to limit comments on your Twitter, limit comments on your Instagram. It's easy. It's easy to do. Those functions are there for your own mental health.
I don't disagree. I just think I understand where he's coming from, and look, I side with him. Now, that's not a thing in terms of looking at Brandon too. That's not looking at Brandon Williams is good enough for Manchester United in the future. That's another debate. Just in regards to this interview, but there's one thing I did like. He did stand up for Harry Maguire, and this is not going back into the captain's discussion and saying Harry Maguire should be captain or shouldn't be captain, but there is sort of Brandon Williams in terms of he went after football Twitter. Football Twitter is now obviously going after him and giving him a lot of abuse. He did mention Harry Maguire. I do want your thoughts because Erik ten Hag has said this, and you sort of questioned Erik ten Hag when he said this, and Brandon Williams has done the same thing now. And a lot of people are going after Brandon Williams in regards to this point. He was saying Harry Maguire is a good player, he's a good fella, and he's had a successful career. And everyone said, "What? Harry Maguire hasn't had a successful career. He's not. What's he talking about?" Erik ten Hag said the same thing, and a couple of weeks ago when ten Hag came in, sort of questioned those comments as well. And I will stand by it. One, I like Brandon Williams for defending his mate. Regardless of what we think of Harry Maguire as captain, he's friends with Brandon Williams, so he's gone into bat for him there. And I will defend those comments from saying Harry Maguire has had a successful career. Now, yes, if you do weigh up trophies, no, he hasn't had a successful career. If you're going to weigh it up against Ryan Giggs or Cristiano Ronaldo, no. However, how many people in the world play football? Billions. How many people have a professional career? A lot of people now, very minute percentage, but there are hundreds, thousands of people who play professional football. How many of those, Larry, playing at the highest level in the English Premier League, get a move to Manchester United for £80 million, play in international tournaments for their country, represent your country, be captain of the biggest club in the world? Ultimately, that is success. Now, yes, it's not the trophies, but in terms of what a lot of players do, not many people achieve. Now, this is not me lauding Harry Maguire, but from a teammate's point of view, saying, yes, he's done well. I fully back Brandon Williams saying Harry Maguire has had a successful career because not many players have done what Harry Maguire's done. And that, again, that's not me defending Harry Maguire, but I will go into bat for Brandon Williams in regards to those comments.
Yeah, I think success is relative. If you're going to compare Harry Maguire's footballing career to mine or yours, yeah, he's very successful, right? But if you're going to compare his career to, you know, the top centre-backs in the game, I guess that's the thing. There are levels of success. Is he a successful Premier League footballer? Absolutely he is. That's not up for debate. This guy's made a career for himself in the Premier League. So, yeah, totally agree. But I think if you're at Manchester United, and again, this is just my lens, if you're at Manchester United as a defender, as a midfielder, your job to measure your success is to think about those who have gone before you. So Harry Maguire needs to be comparing himself to Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Steve Bruce, Pallister. That's his job. If that's where his success for me is. And as Manchester United fans, we will not accept anything less than winning titles. We sing about it all the time. 20 times, we're never going to stop, because we know that's what we view success as. Yeah. So, you know, I respect Brandon Williams defending his mate and his club captain. No problem with that at all. But like I said, success is relative. And as a Manchester United player, I don't think you can say he has been successful.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Look, I agree with your points. I'm definitely not saying he has, but just in regards to the abuse, unfortunately, is going Brandon Williams' way at the moment. I will stick by him. Now, could he have done the discussion when he wasn't 2 or 3 beers deep? Potentially. But that is another debate. I'll just get Erik ten Hag's thoughts on that. But it just about wraps up, Larry, in regards to that. I think we both settled on potentially Bruno Fernandes as being the leading candidate as Manchester United's next captain under Erik ten Hag. But did enjoy that discussion as well. Everyone's opinions in the live chat, plenty of disagreements, but that is what it is about. And I obviously changed my opinions based on sort of everyone else's views as well. So do appreciate everyone's interaction. Make sure you do leave a like on the video if you did enjoy that, and make sure you subscribe if you're new. As you can see the banner along the bottom, we are running a giveaway on Twitter and Instagram for a Lisandro Martinez shirt. So yeah, we'll announce that on the Friday Night Pint, live on Friday. So do get involved in that. Very quick, easy, and free to do on Twitter and Instagram. Just go over there, give us a follow, and follow all the prompts, and in with a chance of winning the Butcher's shirt.
Sorry, Tyler. Look, I do have to be honest. You are not going to win this jersey. You can put 100 comments on both posts. You're not winning this shirt, my friend. I'm really sorry.
Actually, to be fair, I haven't commented. I'll have to enter the competition. I actually haven't entered at the moment as we speak. But until then, there is plenty of time to do that. And hopefully everyone has a good couple of days with no Man United in action. But we'll be back on Friday Night Pint, as I said, for the draw of the Martinez shirt. And I'm sure there will be something to discuss on Friday. And until then, hope everyone has a good one. We'll chat to you then. Cheers.
Cheers.